minutes. This will be followed by a Q&A session. So if you do have any questions during the webinar, please put these into the chat box and we will address these at the end. As always, these webinars will be recorded so they can be shared with you and used as a resource at a later date. Without further ado, I hand you over to Ian. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining at this lunchtime. My name is Ian Clarkson, so I work for the training organisation QA. So we're going to talk about the key change management skills everyone should have for the digital revolution. Kind of a bit of a step through kind of some research and some kind of what the mood is of kind of when it comes to kind of change management skills. So it's a little bit about who I am. That's a reasonably realistic photograph as well, so I'm quite pleased with that. You'll see a little bit about me on there and kind of my background in project management and organisational change as well. And just before we get going, we've got a little poll to run actually. Lauren's going to kind of open up the poll, and I'd just like to have a look at what the question is and choose one answer. It's all about how important change management is to your organisation. So, Lauren, is the poll up and running?
The poll's open, so I'll leave this open for a few minutes, and then once you're ready, I'll read the results out.
Perfect, thank you. So as we're talking about change management, it's really just about how important is change management as a skill to your organisation. And we'll have a look at what the results are when they come through. So how are we getting on, Lauren? Are people voting?
Yeah, we've got 73% as it's a business critical skill, 23% as it's important, and 4% at quite important. So I think we're ready to close that now.
I'm just checking that adds up to 100%. So that would make brilliant. So nearly 3/4 of people are saying it's a business critical skill. Fantastic. Almost 1 in 4 are saying it's important, and a very small percentage saying it's kind of quite important. So when we talk about change management, it's worth me just clarifying here that, you know, I'm kind of thinking with my project management hat on to some degree. What I'm thinking about here is it's not product change. It's not change as in like we're creating a product and we're going through change control. This is all about kind of organizations going through change, kind of how people feel about change, resistance to change, all of that side of things. So to start us off, I'd just like you to, through the chat, do you know who these two people are? So the person on the left and the person on the right. Probably the person on the right might be a little bit more familiar to people, but if you just put through the chat, if any guesses or any thoughts around who these people are. And I'll just give you a moment to do that. Is there anything coming through, Lauren?
Yeah, looks like people are in the know. Elon Musk. Jeff.
Oh, right, okay.
Mr. Tesla.
Elon Musk.
I like that, Mr. Tesla.
Mr. Tesla, that's almost like his type name. Yes, so it's Elon Musk on the right, Tesla and PayPal. He was the guy who, I'm not sure invented PayPal, but headed up PayPal. And Jack Ma on the left. And Jack Ma's the CEO of Alibaba, which is, you know, an online, a bit like Amazon, but over in kind of China areas. And so you've got Jack Ma and you've got Mr. Tesla, as I will forever know him as now, thank you. Just at the bottom, you can see a link to an article. It's on the BBC website. Or just in the bottom right corner, if you were to type into Google Ma Musk AI BBC, it would take you, the top search prompt would take you to that article. And the reason I'm talking about these two here was because in this article, Jack Ma and Elon Musk are basically having a conversation all about artificial intelligence and automation and the impact it will have on jobs and things like that. And I'm just going to go through some of the quotes from that article. So we'll start with Jack Ma. So Jack Ma thinks automation, AI, etc. He thinks that people should work 3 days a week, 4 hours a day. Perfect. I'm with you, Jack. 3 days a week, 4 hours a day. Thank you very much. He said, in the artificial intelligence period, people can live to be 120 years old. Which is nice. Yes, that's very nice. I'm not sure I want to live to 120 years old. He says, at the time, we're going to have a lot of jobs which nobody will want to do. So we need AI for the robots to take care of the old guys. Remember, these are just direct quotes. So that's my view about jobs. Don't worry about it. We'll all have jobs. So there's lots of almost like scaremongering going on, isn't there, on kind of what automation and AI might do to people's jobs. But Jack Ma, you'd kind of hope he knows what he's talking about. CEO of one of the biggest companies in the world thinks, don't worry about it. We'll all have jobs. So what does Elon Musk think? He says that, oh, okay, AI will make jobs kind of pointless. Okay, thank you for that kind of slight Armageddon outlook there, Elon. Almost like directly opposite to what Jack Ma is saying. But then he goes on to say probably the last job that will remain will be writing artificial intelligence, and then eventually the AI will just write itself. I mean, he's basically predicting the end of human civilization as we know it with that quote, isn't he? Basically, you know, kind of, we'll still need people to write AI, but then they'll do it themselves. He then goes on to say, by the way, is anybody feeling depressed yet? He then goes on to say, it's going to get to the point where AI can just completely simulate a person in every way possible, like many people simultaneously. In fact, there's a strong argument that we're in the simulation right now. Right, through the chat, I think Elon Musk has been recently watching a very famous film. When he says, I think there's a strong argument we're in the simulation now. Through the chat, does anybody know what film I think Elon Musk has been watching? Just put it through the chat if you're thinking about the same film as I am. Is anything coming through there, Lauren?
I've got a few votes for The Matrix. Mind Blown.
Is that a film, or is that what somebody's emotion at listening to this?
John Paul has said, Mind Blown by Mr. Tesla. Terminator. There's lots from The Matrix.
Terminator. Yeah, do you know? I wasn't thinking of the Terminator actually, but now you've said that, I was actually thinking. I think he's thinking of this guy here. So I was thinking of The Matrix. And he's kind of thinking, kind of the simulation, the Matrix. But I do quite like the Terminator actually. So, look, it's a little bit of lightheartedness, thinking around kind of what that impact on jobs may be and things like that. But it's leading into things about change management. That's what it's really leading into. And has anybody heard the expression? It says there, top skills in the 4IR. 4IR stands for the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Now, it's not an unreasonable question. So, well, what were the other three? So, I think the first one was what? Agricultural. The second one would have been steam. The third one would have been kind of like the technical one, and then we're in the fourth one, the digital revolution. The source of this is from the World Economic Forum Future Jobs Report, which it comes out every 2 years. So this is one that came out in 2016. There is one in 2018. So I'm expecting one this year. It's not out yet. But the reason that I've brought this up here, because in 2016 they said that these were the top skills in the fourth industrial revolution. So it's interesting just to go back 4 to 5 years and almost say kind of 5 years ago, these were the top skills. So we can see kind of like complex problem solving, coordinating with others, people management, critical thinking, negotiation, etc., active listening, creativity. So that's 4 to 5 years ago. What's interesting is they also, in that report in 2016, predicted what they thought the top skills would be in 2020, as in right now. So 4 years ago, these in the fourth industrial revolution, these are the top skills we think are going to be needed. And actually, if you do a quick scan across the two lists, we can see it's like the pop charts, isn't it? Number one is still complex problem solving. Critical thinking's moved up the list, hasn't it, from number 4 to number 2? It is the pop charts, which is probably me showing my age more than anything, isn't it? Creativity is a big mover from number 10 to number 3. Down one place to number 4 is people management. Now, there's a couple of new entries here in 2020s, and the kind of emotional intelligence is a new entry. And what was the other one? There you go, number 10, cognitive flexibility is a new entry, and a couple have dropped out the list, quality control. But what's interesting about that is there's a lot of similarity between the two lists, you know, from 5 years ago to what we think are the key skills in 2020. So that was a prediction. But there's a question at the top of the slide. What do you notice about all of these skills? If you were to summarize the skills, let's just take the kind of the list in 2020 for a minute. If you were to summarize those skills, how would you summarize them? Just put your thoughts through the chat. How would you summarize that kind of list of skills in 2020? Put your thoughts through the chat. Anything coming through, Lauren?
Yep, got quite a few. Shall I read from the top?
Yes, yeah, from the top.
They're not soft skills, non-manual skills, transferable skills, all project manager skills. Brilliant. The skills all require human interface and human actions. Moving away from the people side, all soft skills, people-based, relationship-based. So basically, a lot of the same answers that are sort of singing from the same hymn sheet. Which is
good. Absolutely. Yeah, they're not the kind of the hard technical skills really, like technology, data. They're all kind of the very kind of like the people side of skills. For me, the change management skills, that's kind of really what they are. If you look back at this list, these are all, you could argue, somebody who needs good change management skills should be displaying complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, etc. All the lots of skills that we would expect good change management individuals to be exhibiting. Now, looking even further ahead for the next 10 years. Now, that's quite a long horizon. If I'm being honest with you, I don't know what I'm doing next Tuesday, let alone 10 years from now. But just at the bottom, you can see this is some research done by McKinsey. As in McKinsey, the you know, kind of the management consultancy. And they're saying this is what they think the top skills in the fourth industrial revolution will be in 2030. So fast forward 10 years. And what they've done is they've categorized things into 5 buckets, if you like: physical, manual, basic cognitive skills, high cognitive skills, social emotional skills, and technological skills. And what this image is trying to show is the kind of the net change in the number of hours worked. So physical and manual, you know, from 2016 to 2030, it's kind of, I think there'll be a kind of a decrease in the number of hours worked in those skills, whereas in the bottom 3, high cognitive skills, social emotional skills, and technological skills, there's going to be a net gain. But what are these skills exactly? So again, from the McKinsey report, and all of those, you know, the World Economic Forum report 2016 and 2018, and this McKinsey, just Google them. You'll get them they're a free download as a PDF. So you can take a look and have a read at your own leisure if you wish to. When we talk about higher cognitive skills, so focusing on those bottom 3, we can see kind of what we talk about there in terms of advanced literacy, statistical skills. Really happy to see project management in there. So we can all breathe easy. Jumping to the bottom of the technological skills, yes, some of those are there around kind of like IT skills, data and mathematical skills, etc. But I want to kind of really focus in on those kind of middle ones, really, that kind of social and emotional skills, if you like. And some of those things that we see in there: advanced communication and negotiation, interpersonal skills and empathy, leadership and managing others, entrepreneurship and initiative taking, adaptability and continuous learning, teaching and training others. Okay, so the research is saying, and again, you might argue, well, 10 years is a really, really long horizon. Things are going to change, and they will change. If you think back to 2010, if we can remember that far back, the world was a different place, wasn't it, in 2010 to what it is now? And the world will be a different place in 2030 than it is to 2020, and that pace of technological change is only going to increase. So whilst we don't know what is actually going to happen, I'm reasonably confident in saying, he says, you know, almost kind of like trying to predict the future, is that a lot of these change management skills in that kind of like leadership, management, interpersonal, etc., are going to become ever more important. That's kind of what the research is saying, and I absolutely agree with that. Technology may change. I think somebody said through the chat earlier, it's about how people interact with that technology. Yeah, so unless you do subscribe to Elon Musk that we're all, the end of human civilization is on us and AI will write itself, it's those change management skills that are really going to kind of be focused on. Yes?
We've got a bit of a green blob showing in the top left-hand side. Are you able to exit presenter mode and go back in again and see if that removes it? Thank you.
Is that any better? The irony is not lost on me there about kind of talking about technology and human interaction, Lauren.
Oh, I know. Unfortunately,
you can blame my human interaction. Is that any better?
We can now see the sharing screen area, the presenter mode.
Oh my word. Let me just try, let me go out again. Technology is a wonderful, let's try that again. Let's go back into presenters.
Sorry about this, guys.
Is that full screen again now?
You can still see that box.
Is it the control panel?
Yeah, it's a control panel. Before it was just a green area.
Any better?
No, it's still there, unfortunately. It doesn't block off much text. So in the interest of not wasting much time...
Is everybody seeing that? I do apologise for this. Technology might be having a bit of a wobble. Is everybody kind of seeing... If it helps, it's perfectly clear on my screen. Just I don't know if that... But let's see what we can... Let's see what we can do. I'll tell you what I might do then. I'll stop showing the application and let's re-show it. Is that any better?
No. Okay, no, it's not going, but let's carry on. People are saying it's not an issue.
Oh no, I do apologise for that. I really don't know kind of what's going on. Lauren and I had a little bit of a run through early to check it was all working. It seemed to be all working okay, so I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, it's just appeared. Okay.
So what's been obscured, Lauren?
Only the top part of skills. It's more of a visual disturbance more than anything. If there's any text that if there's any text that is you can't see in the next few slides, I'll let you know so we can go into sort of full
mode.
Okay, I'm going to mute myself.
Hopefully you're watching it in playback. What I can do then is because if the recording I don't know if it will be obviously recording off the screen. If anybody wants to see kind of the slides, if you like, more than happy to send those slides out afterwards. So if the recording still has a bit of obscured, we can send the slides out. I'll PDF it so it's a bit smaller to email, and I'll send them on to you, Lauren, to kind of send out as well if anybody wants those. So I do apologise for that. So really, these are these kind of social emotional skills, and the kind of the focus on the bottom really are kind of what I think are the top change management skills really in the fourth industrial revolution for the next 10 years. And like I say, whilst technology may change, I really don't think that the kind of these change management skills are going to change. But my question to you all, just through the chat, if you look at that list, you know, kind of in the red box, or in particular, and that's social and emotional skills, do you think there are any other skills, other change management skills, that you would expect people to have as kind of the technical revolution continues? Are there any skills missing, would you say? Put your thoughts through the chat, if you would, and then we'll see kind of what's coming through. Put your thoughts through the chat. Anything that you would want to see in there that you think's missing? I'll give you a few minutes just to kind of put things through. Have we got some things coming through, Lauren?
Yep, so far we've got mentoring
Good.
skills
Awesome.
and commercial thinking skills. Please feel free to
I like that.
more skills, understanding cultural changes, intuition. That's it.
Intuition, I like that. Any other thoughts around kind of these kind of key skills, kind of change management skills, so what organisations might need as technological pace increases?
Emotional intelligence and resilience and self-assurance, the ability to be okay and cope with buffeting change around you.
Yeah, I like resilience. I do think, yeah, absolutely. I think resilience is a really important one. I like the ability to cope with change. Did you use the word buffering in there?
Is it buffeting?
Buffeting, yes, thank you. I think that's important. Yeah, with a lot of change going on, that kind of resilience and the ability to cope with all of that change. Yeah, brilliant. Any more coming through?
No more as yet. If you could teach me how to cope with change, that would be most appreciated.
If I could teach them to cope with change, I'd be bottling it and selling it on Amazon, or selling it on Alibaba, I should say. Sticking it with
That's it for now.
Yeah. Any
no
final thoughts?
No more.
No, good. I think there's a lot in there, isn't there? Thank you. You know, kind of like, yeah, resilience and all of those skills. Now, we're not saying at all that some of the technical skills are not going to be important, because clearly as we start to change and new technology comes along, and I guess you don't have to look that far back, do you, for technology that didn't exist even a few years ago. But I really don't think kind of some of these kind of change management skills are going to be changing. So I just want to think back to the poll at the beginning, you know, kind of how critical is, how important is change management to your organisation. You know, 3/4 of you said it was business critical. So your organisations are kind of clearly going through a lot of change. It'd be interesting for you to reflect on, you know, kind of, are the people kind of leading that change today? Are they displaying these kind of social and emotional skills, the leadership, the resilience, the empathy, etc., that we're talking about here? What will be interesting to see, what I'm really interested to see, is kind of when the World Economic Forum Future Jobs Report 2020 comes out, which I was kind of thinking it might have been out, you know, for the Davos last week, which I don't know if it is or it isn't, but I'm keeping my eyes open. But to see whether or not things have changed, you know, kind of when we go back to what they were looking at 2015 and then 2020, has that list, has the pop charts changed, if you like, over what they're predicting is over the next few years, and how it ties in with maybe this research here. So that concludes kind of the content that I was going to kind of run through. So into kind of any kind of Q&A coming through the chat. Any questions coming through?
No questions as yet. Please pop them in the chat box. A little fact to share, actually, that was shared by Ray at the beginning was Elon Musk also invented zip files, which I didn't know. So.
Also invented what? Zip files?
Yeah.
As in like compressed?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
I didn't realise that he invented PayPal either.
Zip files. Oh, he's done well then, Elon
He
Musk, hasn't he?
has.
I'm gonna have to fact check that. It's not that I don't believe you, but I need to satisfy myself that that's. I'll ask Alexa. That's the way technology
She
is
knows
going.
everything, exactly. Carl Towner said it's interesting that a lot more hours are worked in Europe than us. I guess us must mean where Carl's from. And Shock has said, how do we express these skills in our CVs?
Oh, that's a good one, isn't it? How do we express these in our CVs?
I would say in a personal statement or in your
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've looked at
update.
my CV.
Yeah, I'd say in your personal statement or perhaps in your ambitions and things that you're proud of at work. Yeah, 100% a personal statement.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, and I agree with that, Lauren. I think, and kind of looking at kind of like your attributes as well. I always think kind of the behavioural attributes are kind of really important. So as well as just saying, you might have good project management skills, planning skills, risk skills, or whatever, or kind of data skills. What I see with a lot of organisations at the minute, there's a kind of real focus on those behavioural skills as well. So making sure that, if we, I guess the reason we have a CV is so we can apply for another job. So kind of for me, it's in that kind of set of skills and that personal statement, as you say, Lauren, and really demonstrating where you've applied some of these skills as well, where you've taken initiative, where you've shown resilience as part of the role as well. I think there can still be a tendency to focus very much on kind of the hard technical skills, but I think for me, a lot of organisations are moving a lot more around to those kind of change management skills, more behavioural skills, and seeing that importance grow.
We have another
That's a good
question.
question.
It was a good question. We have another question here. Now, excuse me for not understanding what this is, but it says, would you recommend MOOCs to develop these soft skills?
So MOOCs, massive open online courses, I think, unless there's different tips.
Okay, thank you.
So a MOOC is like it's a massive open online course. It's a massive open online course in the sense of I've never actually attended a MOOC, but kind of through organisations where I guess hundreds, if not thousands, of people can kind of jump on like an online webinar or something like that. Actually, I think for me, when it comes to developing these skills, there's two different aspects. There's a knowledge aspect, for example, which is known about the skill. Let's take coaching, for example. So knowledge of coaching might be knowledge of coaching models like Grow or whatever, but knowledge alone is not a sign of skill or competency. For me, there's the application element as well. So there's then taking that knowledge and being able to use it, being able to take it. So if you're using like a coaching model like Grow or something like that, how are you actually going to put that in place? What's your experience of actually using that and applying it? So something like a MOOC, I think would probably be a lot more towards that knowledge base, if that makes sense. So kind of here's the theory, here's the knowledge. Of course, it depends on the MOOC and it depends on the organisation and it depends on kind of what the subject is. But, for me, it could be very knowledge-based, but that's not a sign of true skill. What experience, how are we going to apply that? How are we going to apply that? For example, leadership. All right, so let's do a little experiment now then. Through the chat, just write down as many leadership models as you can think of. There's quite a few out there, isn't there? Just put down a couple of well-known leadership models. I'm going to do the same. Except I can't do it to the chat, I'm going to write it down. Let me know if anything comes through, Lauren.
Will do. We haven't got anything yet. Michelle O'Brien.
I've written 3 down.
I'm not going to be able to pronounce this, so excuse me again. Lise Ferry? Oh, how embarrassing.
You might need to spell that, Lauren.
It's Laizé. SSEZFAIRE.
Oh, laissez-faire. Oh yeah, kind of like let do, I think.
I'll have
Laissez-faire.
I'll have to look into that because it's every day's a school day. I've
Um,
never heard of that before.
any others coming through?
Yes, we've got democratic, strategic, John Adair, action-centered leadership
Yes,
model,
John Adair.
motivational
That's kind of
leadership,
action-centered. Yeah. Oh yeah,
transformation.
situation. Oh, I've just thought of another one.
Okay,
So there's
personal
things like
motivation.
situational leadership.
Yes.
Great. So there's loads out there. I wrote down Cotter. I wrote down John Adair one, the Lewin one, situational leadership, Blanchard Hersey. I guess what I'm trying to say is, you could go on like a MOOC or a course and learn about that stuff. Yeah, kind of Cotter's 8 steps, or kind of like situational leadership and things like that. But then it's all about the application. It's all about kind of how have you gone through those 8 steps to lead a transformational change, or how have you modified your leadership style in situational leadership for different people. So I think a MOOC will only take it so far if it's just pure knowledge base. So there you go. Oh, I don't know. There's a couple on there I didn't know as well. So thank you. Any other questions coming through, Lauren?
Yes, we do. We've got social and emotional skills
Awesome.
are obtained with maturity. So how do you think we can speed this process up?
Social and emotional skills. I like that. I like that a lot. Thank you. So social and emotional skills are obtained through maturity. How can we speed that up? I think that's where mentoring can kind of come in. I think that's where we would, for somebody who perhaps isn't displaying those attributes or those change management skills, if you like, that's where we'll be looking. I think kind of looking for somebody to help and mentor and guide people and advise and coach people through that in that regard. And again, I think that's a good example of kind of knowledge versus that application, so people might know how to act, but then given that situation, will they act in that way given certain triggers and certain kind of emotional flashpoints, if you like, them doing that? So I would be looking for somebody to be guiding them through that kind of process and helping them there.
Yeah.
What a great question.
I know.
It's keeping me on my toes today.
I do echo
like
that because the way I would react to things now is definitely not how I would have reacted 10 years ago. It's definitely something that I've learned, and it's been through people that have mentored and guided me. So it is good to have a mentor at work or even outside of work to find someone that inspires you. Right. So
and I think the mentor doesn't have to be somebody from the same kind of role that you're doing. It could be somebody from a different part of the business, or like you say, or somebody outside of the business. I think, especially for these, but I think a lot of these change management skills are very transferable, aren't they? So if you went from company to company or job to job, or indeed, into other aspects of life, a lot of these change management skills are very transferable. So, yeah, cool. Anything more coming through?
Perfect. Yes.
Lauren?
On to the next question. We may be thinking about this and aware of this, which would be around change management, but to what extent do organisations really get and are aware for this? So I guess that's around soft skills.
Because so thinking about kind of how aware our organisations are and the importance of kind of change management skills. I think they're getting better. I mean, the poll, there seems to be kind of an acknowledgement of it's a business critical skill. I think you'll often refer to them, or people often refer to them as soft skills, and some people say stop calling them soft skills. They're skills. Stop calling them like data hard skills. They are skills equally as important as anything else. And for me, I think the awareness in organisations is increasing. I think certainly working with lots of organisations, they seem to be focusing a lot more on things like corporate values, leadership behaviours, which are standard across organisations. So I think there is a much greater awareness now than there was even a few years ago of the importance of these. And I guess it goes maybe a little bit back to that question about MOOCs. Can we can we acquire these skills? And I think if you think about career paths as well, I think of it a bit like, as you kind of go up the career path, if you like, you often end up going to kind of management as one avenue and maybe technical as another. Everybody needs these skills, these kind of like soft skills, for want of a better description, maybe in different levels, maybe in different kind of experiences, but we all need them. And I think organisations are starting to realise that now. I think they're starting to realise that they're not a kind of like a poor sibling to the technical skills. I think a lot of them are realising it's probably the other way around, in my experience. It's a good question, thank you.
Okay, we have another question here. I understand tech skills could be trained, but higher cognitive skills to me seem like it's an inbuilt skill. Is he right? So a little bit controversial, but I suppose it's a good question.
Is that a bit like saying leaders are born, not made? Is it that kind of adage? Can we train people to have another good question? Are leaders born, not made? Is it just something within an individual and those characteristics? I do think we can train people. Can I just say, I'm not saying that as a training organisation. Like I'm saying that purely as a training organisation. I promise you, it's not. It's yes, we can train things like communication skills. We can equip people with tools and things like that, and those kind of critical thinking, decision making. We give lots of people kind of tools to do the job. But I do think kind of the people side of things is a personality thing. Let's go with that. Yeah, I think it is a personality thing. Kind of. I think a lot of it depends on who you are as an individual. But I think there's certainly the basics going to be provided. For example, I'm not very creative. Could you teach me creativity? I think you could probably give me the basics of it. Would I be any good at it? Probably not. Whereas some of my colleagues are much more creative than I am. So I think some of it can be taught. I think we can give people basic tools, but I do think there's a bit of a personality thing going on there as well.
Got a few comments coming through from people that said that they believe that you can train people to a certain point, and it's a personality thing. We also have another comment saying everything is trainable, even leadership.
Yes, thank you. I wonder if that's one of my QA colleagues. No, I think there's absolutely certain aspects are kind of trainable, but it is interesting, isn't it? Kind of, I think then, like I said, they're no longer these skills, no longer seen as the poor sibling, if you like. And I certainly think, as the research is saying, it's going to become even more important and more transferable. Cool, brilliant. Any more questions? This is great.
No question, but this is a statement. We are not all Elon Musk. He is a good leader, but it's not trainable to become a Elon Musk.
Oh, I like. Oh, discuss. Yeah, well, I mean, you can go back to think about kind of what leadership is, visionary, that type of behaviour as well. Kind of, isn't it? So, yeah, I don't think there's many Elon Musks in the world. It's clearly very successful. Interesting. What do other people think about that kind of comment? That kind of like, are we all trainable to be Elon Musk?
John Paul has said anyone could be Elon Musk with the right attitude to risk and a sprinkling of crazy, which I like a lot.
That might be my favourite expression of the day, John Paul, the sprinkling of crazy. I think we've all got a little bit of that in us, haven't we? Any other thoughts coming through?
Not as yet.
So I guess...
Got something through here.
Oh, go on, yes.
Said everything could be trained. In the case of creativity, it's through consuming a diverse range of content. It's all dependent on what your interests are.
Yeah, I think that's very true. That's very true. If you're interested in doing it, it kind of helps that process along a lot better, doesn't it? In sense of it's of interest. So, I guess kind of the content that we've gone through in this webinar, a lot of it's been based on predictions, and exactly that, isn't it? Predictions are not reality yet, and who knows whether they may come true. But like I say, we did see when the World Economic Forum Future Jobs Report 2020 comes out, to see what kind of the mood is on what that kind of latest research is. But again, to sum up, what I do think is that these skills are going to be ever more important. The technological skills will change. Absolutely, as new technology comes along. But I certainly think kind of the social and emotional skills and those high cognitive skills are going to become ever more important. So thank you. There's some kind of contact details there if you want to find out anything more about kind of change management skills. I am on LinkedIn as well. If anybody wants to link in, I'm more than happy to do that. Are there any final thoughts or questions coming through, Lauren, through the chat?
We just have one more comment that really kind of agrees with the sentiments that everyone can revolutionise themselves, but maybe not to Elon Musk's extent, but with the right mindset, anything really is possible. We've got a lot of thank yous coming through as well.
No, yeah, thank you. I think it's having that right kind of positive mindset as well. I mean, so I guess what we do know is that the world is going to continue to change. Organisations are going to continue to change and evolve and create new operating models as new technology comes along. So change management skills are not going away. They're only going to become more important with that because of the uncertainty and resistance to change that a lot of this is bringing. So thank you. Do you know what? I like the fact you've kind of given me a good grilling. I like that. The questions were fantastic. So thank you for that. If you do want any more information, please do get in contact. And I will, if you do want a copy of the slides because of the obscure, kind of block at the top of the screen, more than happy to kind of send those out afterwards. I'll drop those over to you, Lauren, to send out.
Perfect,
well.
Thank you. So yeah, the slides will be sent. Hello?
Cool.
Yeah.
So thank you. Hello?
Oh yeah, sorry, my sound went a bit funny, but just to recap, the recording will be sent across to everyone that attended today. So if you send me the slides, I'll make sure that the slides go with the recording as well.
Wonderful. Thank you.
No.
And thank you all. Thank you for giving up your lunch time and for your contribution. I hope you found it useful and hope to see you on any future webinars as well.
Yes, perfect. Thank you, Ian. I'm going to end the webinar now and thank you everyone for attending.